In the small, dusty village of Iziok NSU, where the sun painted the red soil gold every evening, there lived a girl named Mery. She was delicate and wide-eyed, her braids always laced with red ribbons, and her hands often clutching a ragged doll she called Chica. At only 9 years old, Mery should have been running wild in the village square, chasing butterflies and eating roasted maize. But fate, as it often does in the cruelest ways, had written a different story for her. Mery was born to Mama Ojeki, a poor widow who sold okpa at the roadside. Life had always been tough, but Mama Ojeki held on to her daughter like the last candle in a windstorm. They had each other, and that was enough. But in Iziok, tradition still held power. Especially the kind whispered in dark corners, wrapped in the language of poverty and desperation. One late afternoon, Mama Ojeki received a visit from the family of Chief Nok. He was a wealthy man in his 60s, with skin the color of roasted cola and a belly round from too many bottles of palm wine. His fourth wife had just died, and his family insisted he needed a new one, a young one. Someone to bring him peace and rebirth. Someone like Mery. At first, Mama Ojeki laughed. Then she screamed. Then she cried. But the whispers grew louder. They reminded her of her unpaid debts, her leaking roof, and how no man would help a woman like her unless she gave something in return. Chief Nok promised bags of rice, new clothes, and enough money to send her younger son to secondary school in town. 1 week later, under the heavy gaze of the village and the reluctant nods of elders, Mery was dressed in white lace and walked barefoot through the red dirt road to Chief Nok's compound. Her doll Chica was tucked under her arm. The lace veil could not hide her tears. That night, the villagers feasted. Drums echoed through the valley. But Mery sat silently beside her new husband, a man 5 decades her senior, her small body dwarfed by his presence. She did not smile. She did not speak. She was not a bride. She was a child forced to play a role in a game she didn't understand. But fate, the same one that led her here, was not done yet. Barely 2 weeks into the marriage, Chief Nok began to cough. At first, it was dismissed as the harmattan dust. Then it worsened, violent, body-racking coughs that left him breathless. His skin turned pale, his eyes sunken. The village herbalist came, then the pastor. But nothing worked. And then, one silent dawn, Chief Nok died in his sleep. Mery, now a child widow, sat beside his lifeless body, clutching Chica with wide, hollow eyes. The drums were silent this time. The villagers whispered again, but now with fear. Something wasn't right. Something about that little girl was beginning to feel, not so little after all. After Chief Nok's burial, the air around Mery shifted. In many African villages, a widow, no matter her age, must perform rituals to cleanse herself. They shaved Mery's head. She wore white. She was forbidden to eat salt or speak unless spoken to. She was made to sit on a raffia mat outside the compound for 7 nights. And she did it all silently, staring into nothing, her doll Chica always in her lap. But something about her silence unnerved the elders. Children passed by and refused to play near her. Dogs avoided her mat. Birds no longer perched on the mango tree beside her. The villagers whispered of strange dreams, visions of a girl with hollow eyes and a doll that blinked at night. Someone swore they heard Mery talking to the doll in a language that sounded older than the hills. Another claimed she'd seen the girl walking in the compound while her body still sat quietly on the mat. Mama Ojeki, now richer but restless, began to fear what she'd done. Her daughter had been robbed of childhood, pushed into a grave marriage, and now returned to her with eyes too old for her age. Late one night, the chief's brother, Uncle Mbakwi, called for a family meeting. He insisted Mery be sent to a deliverance camp, saying, "That girl is cursed. Her presence brings death and silence." The others nodded, too afraid to challenge it. But before anything could be arranged, Bekwi himself began to complain of headaches. Within days, he was gone. No one could explain it. The same pattern, coughing, then fading, then silence. Mery hadn't cried once. They blamed her mother. They said she had sold her daughter's soul for bags of rice. Women spat when she passed. The church refused to baptize her. Even the local school denied Mery enrollment, saying she was too special to be around other children. That week, Mama Ojeki took her daughter and fled to her late father's house in a remote village across the river. But even there, the shadows followed. One night, during a storm that cracked open the skies like thunderclaps of judgment, Mama Ojeki found her daughter kneeling in front of a small wooden shrine behind the house. The shrine had been abandoned for years since Christianity reached the village. Mery was whispering to it. "I told him to stop breathing." "So he did," she said softly, eyes glazed. Chika sat beside her, facing the shrine. Mama Ojeki screamed. The next morning, the shrine was found broken, split into two by lightning. But the most disturbing part? Chika, the ragged doll, was no longer in the house. No one saw it again. And Mery? She began to smile. A calm, eerie smile that made your skin crawl, like she knew something others didn't. Like she had accepted something no 9-year-old should ever understand. But what was it? And why did the earth seem to listen when Mery whispered? Life in her grandfather's compound was quiet, yet not peaceful. The villagers of Uminoha, where Mama Ojeki had taken refuge, were unfamiliar with Mery, but tales travel faster than wind in small communities. It didn't take long before whispers followed her like a shadow. "She's the one that buried her husband at 9. The girl with the disappearing doll. Her eyes, they're not normal." The children gave her a nickname, Nwani Oka, the pale girl. Not for her skin, but for her expression. Pale. Cold. Emotionless. Mery started drawing strange symbols in the soil. Spirals, broken crosses, and shapes that no one could recognize. At first, Mama Ojeki thought it was just trauma. She begged the pastor to pray. The man came reluctantly, with 2 elders, singing hymns and sprinkling holy water. Mery didn't flinch. She sat cross-legged in the center of the room, drawing one of her symbols into the dust. When the pastor asked her name, she replied, "She's sleeping. She only wakes when people lie." "Who is she?" he asked. Mery looked up, slowly. "Chika. But the doll is gone." Mery smiled again, that same cold, unsettling smile. That night, the pastor had a nightmare. In it, he saw a child standing beside his bed, holding a burnt rag doll with glowing eyes. He woke up screaming, soaked in sweat, and left the village at dawn. He never returned. Mama Ojeki was losing her grip. She wanted to believe her daughter was just broken. Damaged from all the loss and betrayal. But deep inside, something darker was growing, something she couldn't understand. She began sleeping with her Bible under her pillow and a lit lantern by the door. But Mery never slept. She would sit by the window at night, whispering, humming lullabies to no one. Then came the day of the thunderstorm. A bolt of lightning struck an abandoned hut on the edge of the village, the same one Mery often wandered toward. The hut went up in flames, and afterward, villagers found a circle of animal bones around it, arranged in the same strange spiral patterns Mery liked to draw. Mery didn't react when she was questioned. But when one of the elders called her a witch, something strange happened. The man choked. He wasn't eating. He wasn't drinking. He simply choked. His face turned blue, his mouth foamed, and he dropped to the ground in front of everyone. No explanation. No one saw Mery move. By now, fear turned to panic. The elders called for exile. That child is not of this world, they declared. But as Mama Ojeki packed their things once again, Mery asked one final question. Mama, what happens to people who make deals with spirits, and then regret them? Mama froze. Mery looked her in the eye. Do they get to run away? Mama Ojeki dropped the bag. For the first time since the wedding, she realized something horrifying. Maybe it wasn't just tradition that destroyed Mary's childhood. Maybe something ancient had watched it happen and decided to answer her pain. The road out of Uminoha was narrow, with thick bushes curling into the path like the arms of something watching. Mama Ojeki walked in silence, her daughter by her side, the night falling faster than it should have. Even the crickets didn't sing. Just the crunch of their footsteps on dry earth, and the low hiss of the wind weaving between the trees. Mama, Mery finally said, voice quiet but firm. Do you believe people can make wishes without knowing they've made them? Mama didn't answer. Because deep down, she had. That night, weeks ago, when Chief Nwok made the offer and the weight of poverty sat heavy on her shoulders, she had sat at the edge of her bed and whispered into the dark, God, or whoever is listening, just help my daughter survive this marriage. Maybe something else had been listening. Something old. Something forgotten. They reached an old woman's compound by moonlight, a distant aunt of Mama Ojeki who practiced midwifery and claimed to have at the site. She was the last resort. The woman took one look at Mery and stepped back. She's bound, she whispered. Not possessed. Not cursed. Bound. To what? Mama Ojeki asked. To her grief. They lit candles. Burned herbs. Prayed in every tongue they knew. But Mery sat still, her expression unreadable. She made a pact, the old woman said. Not with demons. But with her own pain. Mery stood up. I didn't ask for power. I asked for justice. The air shifted. The flames flickered blue. Then the whispering started, not in their ears, but in their bones. It was as though every regret, every dark thought, every quiet prayer for revenge they'd ever made, was now speaking back. Mama Ojeki fell to her knees, sobbing. I'm sorry. I should have protected you. I shouldn't have traded your childhood for food and comfort. I failed you. Mery looked down at her mother, not with hatred, but with an ancient sadness. I needed someone to speak for me, she said. But when no one did, I learned to speak for myself. And now, they listen. The candles blew out. The wind died. Silence. Deep, ringing silence. When light returned, Mery was gone. No one saw where she went. Not even footprints. Just the scorched mark of her last symbol in the red soil, a spiral drawn with perfect precision. Weeks passed. Then months. The death stopped. The whispering ended. But in villages across the region, children began to tell stories of a little girl who appeared in dreams, holding a doll with eyes like coals. She didn't speak, but if you listened closely, she could show you the truth hiding in your heart. And if you had something dark inside you, something cruel, you wouldn't wake up the same. Mama Ojeki now lives alone, cooking for orphans and speaking against child marriage at every gathering. When asked why she dedicates her life to children, she always says, because once, I gave mine away. And she became something the world cannot forget. Final thought. Mery was not born a spirit. She was made one, by pain, silence, and betrayal. The real horror? That there are still many little girls like her, whispering into the dark, waiting for someone to listen.